Hey, good morning and welcome again. Today, Wednesday, to Coffee and Pan Dulce. And we have full house today. So, hey, before we get started, everyone, let's welcome our Bless Your Heart figure. Come on, yay!
Thank you, everyone, and bless your heart for introducing me. I want to thank you very much. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And welcome to Coffee and Pandulce. I wanted to introduce Christian. Here I am.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing what you can do without a director.
It's amazing what you can do when you frost your tips.
It's already started. Good golly.
Pandora.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Thank you, technology. We spare no expense on production with this show, so I want to thank everyone for joining us. Welcome to Coffee and Pandulce. Today is April the 10th, a beautiful day today. The sun is actually out here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're going to go ahead and start off introducing everyone first. That'll give us time to share our show on your platforms as well. So we'll start with our right, because you're always right.
Yes. Hi, my name is Tera Long. I am on the Board of Healthcare Justice NC. By converting to a single-payer program, we can save $500 billion. It makes fiscal and moral sense to convert to a single-payer system.
Awesome. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. As everybody knows, I'm Ruth Perez, Community Advocate for the City of Charlotte, and that's it for today.
I'm Christian Cano.
I'm Manolo Betancur, and I own a bakery.
My name is Alan Smith. I'm running for Congress in the 9th District.
My name is Jeff Scott, and I'm a man about town. But I'm also running for Congress in the 9th District, and I'm extremely happy that Alan has joined us today. Also Manolo,
Yes,
and also Tara,
Thank you.
and also our regular crew, Bless Your Heart, and Ruth Perez. Always a pleasure.
Yes, I want to welcome everyone here today. And we're going to get a little bit further into our special guest. Tara, as many of you have seen on our show before, Tara is native of Charlotte. She's a Charlottinian. She was like the only third native Charlottinian I think we've had on the show. Her dad, Tony Crumley, was Vice President of Research for the Chamber of Commerce for many years here in Charlotte. Her mother was an educator, primarily with CMS for her whole career. She attended CMS and graduated from Harding University High.
Yep.
Wow, welcome. And she also attended UNCC to receive a degree in anthropology and psychology and a graduate certificate in teaching. Oh, an educator. Wonderful. Spent 3 years teaching at West Charlotte High School, primarily as a psychology teacher. Her husband, Doug Long, started a family, and together they've foster cared several children.
We've helped rear 29 kids.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Wow.
That is wonderful. Tara, as many of you know, we call her the photography lady.
Photo advocate.
That's
I call it
right.
a
The
selfie.
photography selfie. She basically spent the last year and a half just documenting a lot of our community events as well. She's also very involved in her leadership role with Healthcare Justice. She's on the Board of Healthcare Justice North Carolina, co-chair with Dr. Rucker. She's a member of Democratic Women's Issue and Resolutions. Is that correct?
Issue, yeah.
And she's on the something. Pat Cotham had appointed you to.
I'm appointed to a board.
Oh, well, thank you. And then just to add to that, she's been reading 2,080 books with CMS students.
So I rehomed
I
it.
thought so.
Oh my God! I was gonna say,
I
oh,
cannot read that
hallelujah!
many books.
Can I get your autograph?
So to spread literacy within CMS, I have collected books from the past since I started October, and I've rehomed 2,080 books into
wow.
CMS into Title I schools.
Wow, that's very impressive. More importantly, she loves attending this event, and we're excited that you're here. Thank you, Tara, for joining us. And this is very important. We're going to talk about a big event with Mr. Wendell Potter.
Mm-hmm.
That's happening this week here in Charlotte at Queen's University, I believe. Yes. And you want to give some bio on our other guest?
Here's another North Carolina native. He's born.
Our fourth one.
Yeah.
That's right.
North Carolina, not Charlotte.
Oh,
though.
I'm sorry.
He's born son of dirt-filled poverty, and his parents are from nearby Pageland, South Carolina. His father grew up and the son of a preacher, picking watermelons in the fields with his brothers for 25 cents an hour. Dang.
Wow.
My mother was, his mother was white, and South being what it was, he was born in and adopted from Charlotte. Yay, welcome. He was raised and adopted in a family in early years in Northeast and New England before returning to North Carolina in 93.
Oh, so you lived over
Just
abroad?
before graduation. Is that you?
That's not me.
Who are you talking about?
I have
Is this
no
the right
clue.
bio?
I know, he's looking at me like, that's not me.
Do we have a guest missing? Did
Hello.
somebody show up?
We might.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm looking at him and I'm like,
Oh, you know, I think that you're reading Tim Harris from 2000.
Thank you, Ruth.
From
Tell us about
I'm gonna hang you.
Yeah.
He's just like, here, this is here.
Okay, that was our April Fool's joke.
Yes.
Oh, wow, thank you.
What a show already.
And I mean, he's looking at me, he's like, what is she reading about?
So, Alan Smith
Mm-hmm.
of South Charlotte.
That's right.
So he is native Charlotte.
No.
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 All right, well, tell us about you.
So I've lived all over the U.S. My dad was in the Army, so we moved around quite a bit.
That's right.
I've lived in kind of big cities, small towns, rural communities, everywhere in between, basically. And I moved to Charlotte about 4 years ago, and so we've been here since then, just kind of making our family here, kind of trying to get involved in things.
Excellent. Well,
And you ran when I ran for city council in 2017.
Yes.
Alan was also running for
Yes.
office, so we actually did meet on the campaign trail very briefly at the time when you were running. Yeah.
so those who have a DVR, just erase the first 35 seconds of what
Since
you
this
said,
is live,
and
we
we'll go into
can't
this.
edit
And you
this.
are a candidate.
I'm a candidate.
For the 9th Congressional District
That's correct.
as a Green Party candidate.
As a Green
Is that
Party
right?
candidate.
Wonderful. So
Yeah.
the well, we have,
Yeah.
as we know, we've got the
Yeah.
Libertarian. And Manolo, we don't have your bio, and I'm glad we don't because we'd probably introduce you as something completely different. Can you tell us briefly about you? Yes.
I'll make him black.
Manolos from Waxhaw.
His name is Manolo.
Manolo.
Please tell us, for those who may not know who you are.
Well, I'm an immigrant. I come from Colombia, South America. I've been almost 20 years in this country. And a product of the American media. I was raised in another country under the influence of American TV. So don't blame me because I got a lot of American thoughts. But I also fell in love with American history and with the American dream. So I believe a lot in the American dream. Long story short, I came without speaking any English, zero, none, and I work in Miami. Then I went to college in Tennessee. That's where I learned some of my English, the little that you understand. And also I had a deportation order myself, so I know how broken the system is. Yeah, and I've been in Charlotte since 2005. I was the president for the Hispanic American Democrats of Mecklenburg County. Then I was for the state. Then I realized I had to be happy with my kids. So I quit to
run your business, you have a bakery?
to run a business. I own the oldest Latino bakery in town. Since '97 we have been in business. And
It's on Central, right?
Central Avenue,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, my passion is people. Business is not about money to me. Business is about community, and community is about the business. So I always think in different ways
Sure.
how to to create community and business together.
Well, I want to welcome you to our show
Thank you,
because
thank you.
one of our topics, we've got 3 topics we're going to be talking about today. But before we do that, because we're running really late, we don't have a director today, so I apologize if things seem a little bit out of the whack. So we are kind of doing it ourselves.
But we're rocking.
That's right.
Bless your
Our
heart.
Pandulce today is the same as it was last week. Not the exact same bread.
No, this one has cinnamon. This one has cinnamon.
It's cinnamon bread
And,
with,
It's hard as a rock.
with local honey from Hiddenite, North Carolina. So those who are suffering from allergy season, please help yourself to some Pandulce today. Maybe we can get some Pandulce next time. So I want to welcome everyone, those who are suffering from allergies.
He's in diet. He's on a diet.
Yeah.
you're welcome.
There you go. Here, I'll take
Okay,
this.
all right,
There
take
you
that.
The good news is we've had some rain,
No,
so
you're
it's
right.
kind of washed off.
Here you go.
Yes.
Are y'all
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
with the
please.
bread?
Do you
Yeah.
want one?
Yes,
please.
he wants
Oh, here
one.
you go.
Oh, thanks.
And
Sorry.
we are now going to take the opportunity to salute to Coffee and Pandulce as neighbors. Salute.
I feel like Mr. Rogers on the neighborhood.
Hello, everyone.
Remember Mr.
And-
Rogers?
Yes, I do.
In the rush to do our introduction today, I left my jacket in the kitchen. And as a result of that, I don't have any buttons.
Oh.
But in 30 seconds, tell us about your button.
I already told you about my button.
Okay.
I'm Healthcare Justice NC, and I want to save a lot of money by transferring to a single payer system.
Okay, excellent. What's going on this week with Wendell Potter?
Okay, Wendell Potter, you actually have that.
Okay, we'll go over that in a
I
little
don't.
bit.
Okay.
So,
Here it is.
if you had a button.
If I had a button, I think I'll go with Tara as well. I've
Okay.
been saying it for the past 2 weeks already. Medicare for all.
I sound like Jeopardy here. And for $40, I will take. I will also go for Medicare for all, improved Medicare for all. We'll be attending the Wendell Potter event this weekend, which is very, very important. If you had a button, what would it be discussing? What issue?
Gosh, man, it would be, I don't know, like a rose or a flower.
Oh.
Like that. Yeah. Always
Okay.
like
For
today-
allergies, for pollen?
No, man, I
Just for
always like
love or just-
to wear something like it reminds me like okay, it's not everything in life is not about being
Oh,
tough.
that's
or,
good.
You know, so
Okay.
that's,
Cool.
Oh, that's
it,
a good
it will
button.
bring my sensible part of myself.
Excellent.
Very nice.
Sensitive.
And Alan, if you had a button, well, you do have a button.
I do have a button.
You want to tell us about your button?
Sure, absolutely. So my button is for the North Carolina Green Party, and I'm extremely proud to be a member of the North Carolina Green Party. We're an independent third party in North Carolina. We recently gained ballot access, and we're really excited about that.
Excellent.
Awesome.
And Jeff?
I brought our sort of seasonal Libertarian Party
That's right. Are you
brand,
Tri-
which is Are You Tri-Curious, and it's the rainbow porcupine.
Yes. I've got
And
two of those,
this is
actually.
something that we do in some of the pride festivals
That's
around
right.
the state, some of the LGBT festivals, and it's usually a very good time. You know, weather's warm, we've got our booth out, we're giving out buttons and telling people that they do have third-party alternatives, and we're especially happy that the Green Party is competing in the state now, and they'll be putting more candidates in the future. It's very important for people to know
Sure.
they've got options outside of the two dominating parties.
Well, I just realized what I had done. I actually printed off the bio for the Libertarian candidate that was running in number 3.
That's
So
right.
he got a free plug today.
That's right. Tim Harris.
I never said his name,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I didn't finish his bio,
That's
so
right.
no.
Never mind.
Okay.
All right.
So shout
April
out to
Shout out
Tim Harris,
Tim,
who's
for
running in the
those who are
primary.
We still want him to come and sit
The
here.
primary in District 3 is 2 weeks away.
Oh, wow.
And they've got over 20 candidates, I think 26 candidates. So Libertarians have a primary, Republicans and Democrats.
That's right.
So it's fairly feverish out there
Sure.
right now with the campaigning. They're going into the last 2 weeks of their primary.
And that's
so.
Libertarian or Green Party?
Libertarian.
Well, there's no Green running in that race. There,
Okay.
there is a constitutionalist,
That's
however,
right.
running in that
Okay.
race. So
That's
there's
right.
so there'll be 4 parties on the general ballot.
And once again, we've been trying to educate people here on this show about our political system here in North Carolina. Once again, we do have 5 political parties. You have your Democratic Party, which I'm a member of, even though rumors
Rumors to the contrary.
So they're just rumors.
Exactly. We have a Republican Party. We have a Libertarian Party. We have the Green Party. and then now we have a new Constitution Party, with
Right.
which actually people don't really realize that our state chairman Wayne Goodman helped start the Constitution Party,
Oh,
and the
really?
reason he helped start it was because he wanted to pull votes away from the Republican Party.
Yeah.
So at all of our conventions, our state chairman had this sign-in
Yeah.
sheet for people to
Yeah.
sign in for the Constitution.
Yeah.
So his theory is that
Yeah.
it's going to pull votes from the, which is what they say about the Green Party, that they,
Yeah.
they take votes away from the Democrat. It's anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So
we have a sixth party?
We should, the unaffiliated party, but they can't actually.
Can I
run
just
for-
be that?
No, you'd have to form. I mean,
Yeah, you'd have to form.
Build,
It's very
build,
difficult.
Oh, I'm a mix of all, so.
That's right.
building
Yeah,
a
you're-
party is very difficult.
You're a political mutt.
Yeah.
Yeah. let's just bring it all out there.
That didn't sound too
All right.
good.
We're running over, so we're going to have to keep these segments short. The first segment is about HB 370. We're going to be
Oh,
updated
Lord.
on that. Then we're going to go very short on the NCO9 election update. And then the last segment is Stephen Miller's White House. There's a lot of cleaning, cleaning house in the White House with the Director of Homeland Security leaving and a bunch of other things. And then hopefully we'll have just a brief time to educate us on what's going on this week with
Thanks for
Medicare
everyone that
for
is
all.
connecting, that
Yes.
is watching our videos. Share them, please.
That's right.
And that way our community will be well informed.
Exactly. Thank you, Ruth, for saying that. So let's talk about HB 370 update. Does anyone have an update on what's going on? My understanding is it has passed both chambers.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yes.
For those who are not aware, HB 370 is what we talked about last week. It is, in my view, it is a trying to squash home rule. A lot of our sheriffs were democratically elected by the voters on a platform of getting rid of 287G in their counties, and many of them honored their campaign pledges and got rid of 287G. And so the backlash to that from many Republicans, they had passed this legislation in our General Assembly to force the sheriffs to participate in this program. You have a little bit more education on this, don't you, Jeff? Or do you? Or
Yeah, so last week we emphasized the point that these detainers
Yep.
are just little pieces of paper signed by bureaucrats, right? And so normally a conservative would say, what is some bureaucrat doing signing this piece of paper and making me take this action, right? McFadden is fairly emphatic on this point. You bring me a warrant, I'll do what you want, right? You follow the law as in the Fourth Amendment, and I will do what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. If you just bring me a little piece of paper because you don't like brown people, or because the state rural voters are pressuring you, I'm not going to honor it. So we're very much in support of McFadden and the other sheriffs that have sort of, courageously ran on this platform and then courageously are executing their policies, right? So I didn't realize that it had passed both houses. I wasn't up on the latest news.
It passed. In other words,
Yeah.
HB 370 is the same thing than 287G just for the state.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
It took a lot of years for people to realize that to know about what 287G was, because it was like 10, 12 years here in our county.
Yeah.
And when people realized how bad this was for our state, how the damage that we're making with the families, is when everything came on time and we got out of this. But the best way to put this law is just the separation family law.
Sure.
It's why it's destroying our communities, why it's taking kids away, taking the parents away from the kids. So just realize the future of our country, the future of our state, the future of our nation. All these kids are gonna be raised with our father, with our mother, because they're American citizens, and this is gonna become back to us in a big social issue.
It's not only that, the biggest issue that we're looking at, if that goes or it passes through, we're looking about racial profiling, because not everybody is undocumented. They might be immigrants, but we gotta understand the difference between
That's what
immigrants
we have
and
been taught. We've been trying to.
Now, the
educate
good thing
people
that
about
I'm kind of peaceful about it is that the Democrat Party has not done much about it, because they know what they're gonna be doing. If it goes through and it falls through,
They'll veto
they'll
it.
veto it. And Republicans don't have enough votes to.
Well, that's the hope. The hope is
to override.
To
to
override
override the
it,
veto.
yes,
So the
yes.
hope is that Governor Cooper will veto the bill, even
Yeah, I
though
think
he's
he
not
can.
committed to
But we
it.
still have to pressure
We
because
still have to
yes, because he
pressure.
has not shown
And
any.
then we need the Democrats to make sure that they are able.
Yeah, I want to use a stronger word instead of saying hope than the governor. It's no, we cannot hope that governor is gonna do that.
Yeah.
He must
We have
do
to
that
pressure.
for us.
Yeah.
People keep forgetting that
We
he's
put them.
in power because
Of
the
the people.
difference between him and Pat McCrory was 10,000 votes, and they were Latino votes.
Manolo, I'm so
Yeah.
Manolo, once again, and I say that quite often. I'm so glad you're sitting next to me. I get in so much trouble with our Democratic Party, especially the a section of the Democratic
bless your
Party.
heart
The
ones?
bless your heart.
Okay.
The bless your heart. Whenever I come out and I say that I expect the governor to veto it, or I expect this, I get so much backlash on social media and rumors starting. Oh, I'm not a real Democrat. I'm ruffling the feathers of people, and so. And just be, don't create problems for him to being reelected. And
No, that's the reason why we work so hard.
Mhm.
but there is a
President
section
over
of
there.
North Carolina Democrats we call
Yeah.
blue dogs that are
You
really
guys,
Republican that run as Democrats.
you guys know me well. I know,
I
I'm
know.
not bringing division here.
No, I know.
But I
But you
just,
do know that when
but
you say-
people knows me because I'm always talking from my heart.
Yes.
And
So we're not
I
hoping.
would, yeah.
yeah, no, it's when we work for him because we believe in his word,
Yes.
and we thought and that he was gonna be a better choice than between
Sure.
what we had before, and but still he has done good things for us, for us as a state.
Sure.
But he's so far away with the immigrant and Latino
Exactly.
Or
community.
the one that really took him into
Exactly.
the seat.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
so-
unfortunately, it's gonna take almost waking him up to remind him, and that is some of the challenges that we have in our North Carolina Democratic Party is you're expected to never challenge anything that a person who is not fulfilling our platform, whether it's someone running for Congress or city council or whatever. Once you challenge or once you bring it up, suddenly you're not a good Democrat. And I just want to remind people out there that is only the view of a very small, select few Democrats who actually control our party. The good news is they're dying out. They're the donors, the big donors, the Erskine Bowles, the Hugh McCalls, all of those people who donate all this money, the Kay Hagans, all of that crowd, the Vile Isles group, all the people who support Vile Isles. Is if you question anything they do, suddenly you're not a good Democrat, and they come after you like crazy. They're actually worse. They're meaner to me than Republicans and everyone else, the Democrats.
Well,
Which is like, why have enemies when you have people
Well,
like
that's why
them?
we have
Yeah.
to encourage our community to
Yes.
make sure and do what right next here lady
Yes.
does. Follow the
Yes.
candidates,
Exactly.
find out their backgrounds, keep a track of everything they're doing. Because once they get the votes, they'll be holding accountable of what they're not doing.
Exactly.
And I want to
Sure.
say something.
Sure.
Like, it doesn't matter what party you are. You have a moral obligation to be nice to
Thank
people
you.
because that's just what we need to do.
Yes.
Yes. I agree.
That's
You
right.
have anything to add to that, Alan, about HB 370 or where the Green Party stands on that?
Well, so I mean, I think one thing that I've noticed in all of this is it just seems to illustrate a broader pattern that seems very hypocritical, in my opinion. We see similar laws passing at the state level, these preemption laws that prevent local communities from passing ordinances that are important to the people in those communities, and it's almost like they're intercepting that at the state level. And I think that's kind of funny because you hear, especially Republicans, always talking about how we want local control. We don't want big government controlling our
Yeah.
lives, and I just think that that's super hypocritical.
Yeah.
And I just think it's important to point that out.
Yeah.
We Jeff and I have no issue pointing out the hypocrisy of the Republican Party and the irony on how the Republican Party that we knew growing up
Yeah.
was the party of small government, local rule, certain things, no tyranny. Remember when Obama
Yeah.
was president? He goes, "Oh, he's tyranny," the Tea Party tyranny.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
threat on
Yeah.
me. This. And now it's actually reversed. Now they want to be in our lives. They
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
control whether people can take medical cannabis. They want to control whether a woman has the right to decide what's important for her reproductive rights. They want to control those things. And apparently, and I'm not saying all Republicans, but the impression is they don't really care whether Latino, Latinx families or immigrant families are separated. that for some reason doesn't seem to be a concern for them.
Well, let me point out
Sure.
one thing about, I was just reading about this the other day. In Utah, which is a predominantly Republican state, did pass a law following, New York, California, Washington, and Nevada, which are more blue states.
Yes.
But that is changing this Class A misdemeanor sentence from 365 days to 364 days, so that it doesn't trigger immigration and possible deportation. So it doesn't trigger an immigration event, right? So they're doing the right thing.
Sure.
I guess what was happening in Utah was that, and I hope I get this right, but I guess some of the attorneys in Utah were not advising their their clients correctly, and when they were doing when they were doing some sort of plea deal for Class A misdemeanors, which are shoplifting, passing a bad check. There's some other low-level frauds. That when they did the plea deal, that would trigger a deportation.
Oh, okay.
And so people who were not, who were just arrested, did a plea deal, and didn't even serve the time, or got some kind of probation, found themselves subject to deportation.
Yeah.
And so the different states have done that, and at least one Republican state has done that. So that could be a model for North Carolina.
A quick something, because before I forget it. Talking about hypocrisy, and a few years ago, when we were talking about rural North Carolina, they were passing a bill, I don't know if he made it, about having E-Verify just for the restaurant owners and but not for the rural North Carolina.
That's right.
Rural North Carolina will collapse for if this HB 370 passes, because we forgot that all the Christmas tree industry, the tobacco industry, the apples, the peaches, depends on immigrant hands.
Yes.
Yes. So that is, please, we gotta think further and be smarter. And this is an invitation for everybody who wants a better future for our state.
That's right. So the reality of the agricultural industry in this problem is going to hit people in the face.
Well, that's Jeff, we talked about this last week about strategy, and I know that's not what we're here to talk about, but you and I love to talk about strategy. You probably talk about strategy. I mean, we all like to talk about strategy. But we talked about that last week because we obviously know what the Republicans in the General Assembly, we know what they're going to do. They're going to do everything they can to pander to their base before elections because that's how they get them out to vote.
Right.
So whether it was HB 2 a couple of years ago, whether it was Amendment 1 the election before, this election is going to be HB 370. It's going to be about undocumented people, 287G.
Criminals!
That's what they need to excite their base. Because I've always said, Democrats vote because they're inspired. Republicans vote because they're afraid, at least in this state. So the goal is to keep them afraid of something, whether it's African Americans, whether it's the transgender, whether it's gays, now it's the Latinos, it was Muslims for a while, it's just whoever they want to do. So we know that's the case. So wouldn't it be smart if we know for the last 2 generations that has been their strategy when they run for office, for the Democratic Party to get some kind of light bulb and say, all right, then let's just say, all right, let's vote for it. Let's vote to kick out all immigrants in North Carolina. Someone propose a bill to kick out all immigrants in North Carolina. It would never pass because the rural voters, like we said last time, why don't we just say, all right, let's build a border wall, and then you have the Republicans go, I didn't really mean to spend. Let's talk about it now. Then we bring to the table immigration reform. So the strategy of the Democratic Party has always been, in my view, to catch up to the message of the Republican Party, and we don't have the leadership in the Democratic Party that is smart enough to come up with strategy to stay ahead of the Republican Party. So this is an issue that, to your point, the Democratic Party should be out there firm, saying our Mecklenburg County Party chair should have been at Monday's meeting. Our state chair should be out having the same press conferences that he has supporting Dan McCready. who's not even a Democrat, should be out there saying, we stand with our immigrant community. Our party does not believe this. We push for our Attorney General to sue if this happens. We also push for our governor to veto it. We push for Jeff Jackson, all the people in Mecklenburg County to have a press conference against this. That's what we should be doing. But we don't do that because they're afraid they're going to lose that very small percentage of bless your heart Democrats that, anyway, that's mine. Anybody want to add before we have to go to our next? As I continue to get kicked out of the Democratic Party.
Ban.
You know, to be fair, political coalitions are very difficult, and people who organize them deserve a lot of credit for trying to put it all together and try to keep people of different viewpoints together in the same room. You know, we all know that's very difficult. So I don't know the inner workings of the party, but
well, I guess another thing that my feeling about this meeting is that you guys so focused in the political parties.
Yeah.
But we just need to focus more in having political leaders.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if we get somebody that really is going to move the mass of people and is going to change mentalities, that is going to be transformation, people are going to follow them. Because by then, people are smarter than we are in the way that we don't even realize.
I believe they are. The problem I think we have, Manolo, is that whenever I do believe that we're going to get a crop of candidates that will start to be announced in the next month or so for city council and also for 2020 elections that I hope will run like Braxton ran, like Mark Terrell ran, and say, this is what was the issue at that time, and this person said nothing about it. And this is the people that we need moving forward. Because our millennials, even though we say about millennials don't come out to vote, they are starting to come out to vote. They are the reason that we are getting these people into office. And so I believe that, I hope that happens, because we all love Charlotte. We want to see us continue to grow. As Jorge says, we're clay. And we're forming, and we're not formed yet. Charlotte. So I do believe, and to another person's, I don't know, Jeff, if you said this already, but you know, we have tried on a lot of these issues to reach to the hearts of our neighbors about the children, about being the racial profile that's going on, that was happening with the ICE raids, and how if you look like me, or you look like us who are darker color.
No, you're not wearing
No, we're not wearing other stuff.
When he wears his hat,
that I could just be caught in the net. Now they would let me go because I would look and go, bless your heart, honey. I know you did not pull me over, and I'll throw my blonde wig on.
You hear my British accent.
That's right. I should say that. But we would hope that our neighbors would see that and it would touch their heart. But it apparently, I guess, because I don't know, it doesn't. As the token white people at the table, can you justify why you're not? Anyone want to speak before we go to our next segment?
No, I don't have it.
He's turning red now.
You did that last time. Tara, do you want to?
I'm just going to say kindness matters, and we need to be in all communities, not just the communities that we look like.
Yes.
We need to learn why people do what.
Yes.
Why people do what they do in every community, so we can bridge those gaps and become a united community.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Alan, do you want to add as the last token?
You know, the only thing that I will add here is just saying that immigrants, whether they are documented or undocumented, are people who make America great.
Yes,
Thank you. And on that note, before we switch to our next, everyone grab a flag. There you go. Do we have enough flag? Well, y'all can share. You can share the flag. On that note,
are we going to sing "My Country 'Tis of Thee"?
No, because I don't know the words.
Oh, see.
I want to remind people, this was a shirt that this is merchandise you sell. And this is such a wonderful shirt. So if you ever go to Manolo's Bakery on Central Avenue, visit all the merchants if you can, on Central Avenue, especially the immigrant-owned
Yes.
merchants. This was Made in America, Immigrant Hands, Manolo's Bakery.
Bye.
Yes, and it's got this really cool little thing. I didn't notice that until I was wearing it the other day.
Alright,
And it's very comfortable, even though it's getting cooler. Please support our immigrant community.
Yes.
And once again, you know, we're all Americans. Just some people just have the proper documentation, and some people don't. But many of them are from Central and South America, so we're all Americans.
Well, let me give you a little background about that.
In 15 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Manolo.
Okay,
all right.
Just the love it took the 15 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah,
He's already a politician.
It's just there's not that many things that we are making in America. And when I see when I was looking the purpose of my bakery, with the real vision of my bakery, I realized, okay, there's just one of the few things that they're left making in America.
Yeah.
And the ironic about this, it was everything made by immigrant hands. The same goes for going back to agriculture.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
Yeah. Well, a lot of factories overseas.
Yeah,
There is not that many factories here.
that's true. Well, I will say the Harley Davidsons, I think, are still made here.
Yeah.
Is that right? Or have they shipped them to Mexico yet? Does anybody know that?
I remember when they were in trouble.
Yeah.
I believe they are made.
All right, you have to hand me these flags because
Yes,
they
And
can't
while
be
they're
thrown on the
handing,
ground.
I want to say hi to everyone, especially to Jennifer Rogers de la Cara, Juan Gordillo, thank you for tuning in. Yvonne Farfan, thank you. We love you too. They're very happy to have this table with immigrants and white folks and a mix of diverse things.
Why do
So.
you look at me when you said white? Why do you look at me when you said white folks?
Yes, you're hard.
Yeah, that's right. Yes,
I'm a refugee.
That's right.
I'm a refugee from California.
Oh!
We're going. Well, as is 80% of Charlotte. I mean, 80% of Charlotte's not from Charlotte.
You know,
so
do you know where I'm
it's
from?
Nicaragua.
No.
From San Antonio.
San Antonio.
I'm a San Antonio girl.
From San Antonio.
Yes.
She's what we call a Tejana.
I'm the San Antonio
Tejana.
Missions.
Yes.
I love
Okay.
baseball. That's
Yes.
my team.
So I guess I'm the only immigrant.
Well, we're all immigrants. It's just
Yeah, we're all
It just depends on how
My
far.
parents were immigrants, so yes.
I mean, I know we're going to jump to the next topic, but
Yeah.
I guess I'll just end by saying that is what is so interesting. There's so many family. How far do you go back before you are considered to be no longer? I mean, my family, or our family, I don't want to say mine, but our family, I have to use that. They've been in North Carolina since 1862. And then my family on my other side have been in Texas since Texas was Texas. They actually fought on both sides of the Alamo. And so I can trump most people as far as, you know, if we're going to go back 2 generations, 3 generations. And there are many families who are maybe Irish immigrants, Scottish, the Scot-Irish who actually founded more of the Charlottinian Piedmont Basin area. They only go back, maybe even 200 years or so. Like Fudd's family goes back maybe.
Oh yeah. Well, you were there at the Cesar Chavez
Yes.
award when
Mr.
Dr. Wilcox
Yes.
spoke about his background,
Yes.
how his great parents and
Yeah.
grandfather
That was
immigrated, and
amazing.
actually they crossed the border.
Yeah.
You know, being a 9-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So I mean,
That was an amazing story, Dr.
Yes.
Wilcox. I did not realize that. And I do still disagree with him on certain issues, especially security of our schools and
of
things like
course.
that. But you can still disagree with people and so forth. So next segment. We're going to get very short on this because we don't want to go over too much on this show. NC09 election updates.
Well, let me just say a few things.
should I wipe
and-
my way?
Because I'm here almost every week, I wanna let Alan have some time to talk about
Please.
his plan and his strategy. But I do want to say that, you know, some of the ads have come out for, you know, Dan Bishop is putting out his ad, and he's basically sort of linking, you know, Dan McCready to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, calling her crazy and so they're crazy and they're clowns. In my estimation, it's a very poor ad.
Yeah.
And
Is it? Because the role of them, right, and this is what I think Democrats, especially Dan McCreadyites, they don't understand about Matthew Ridenhour, and he's doing his ads. With Stoney's doing his ads. I didn't call him Stormy. Stoney's doing his ads, and Dan Bishop, who I could care less about, is doing his ads.
Yeah.
They're whole focus is to win the primary. They
Yeah,
could
yeah,
care
that's
less
fine.
about Democrats,
That's
Greens,
right. But I'm just
really.
I'm just talking about the
Yes.
quality of the ads that have come
Yes,
through on my
that's
Facebook
true.
feed.
That's what we're getting also from.
I thought that Stony Russian's ad was classy. I don't
Yeah.
agree with him,
Yeah.
but I thought he had a classy ad. I think Dan Bishop is a very smart guy, very smart legislator, and I disagree with him emphatically. And I really don't like his ad. I think it's very childish.
Sure. Well,
And I haven't see. I think I saw. I didn't see Matt right now, so I'm not going to.
they're all comparing Dan to AOC, which is
ridiculous.
which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
But at the same time, their goal is to excite their base.
To inflame the minds of their base voters and create mass delusion
Oh, I'm not supposed to be
among
Christian. I'm
the
supposed to be a
electorate.
bless your heart person right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
You gotta.
So anyway,
segment.
let me hand this off to Alan. You know, Alan and I again,
Alan,
we
share
met
with
in
us how you-
2017, but we also
Said my
had
voice changed. Alan, share
we
with
also
us.
had a glass of wine at Vintner's down there on Providence.
Oh
and we were
no!
talking-
Bless your heart.
No, we were talking to people, and we were just sitting at the bar, and we just said, "Yeah, this is the first time we met. We're both running for Congress," and they were just ecstatic and very thankful
Wow.
that we're doing this.
Did they say,
and,
"Oh, we
and
saw
I
Dan
just want to
McCready
say
last
that I
week"?
want to express my gratitude to Alan for stepping into this race, having the courage to show up, and he's got a very rough road ahead. So I feel sorry for you. But anyway, I'm very pleased to.
So
let you
Alan,
talk.
tell us
Yeah.
very briefly
Yeah.
about any updates because we don't have a lot of time on the segment. So
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, what we're trying to do is we're getting just groups of people together all across NC09. Right now, it's a little up in the air because we don't know what the date of the general election is going to be because we're waiting on the outcome of the primary. We're going to have a clearer strategy after that, but right now we're just trying to get the message out about our campaign to kind of show some differentiation between what we stand for, what the Green Party stands for, what the Democrats, Republicans, and Libertarian Party stands for. Just so that people understand what their choices are, they understand what the issues are, and they understand where the candidates stand.
Well, I think 7 or maybe 8 of the 10 candidates, the Republican candidates, had a debate or a forum in Fayetteville on Monday night. It was broadcasted live. You can go to the Fayetteville Observer and see that candidate forum. And Stoney, who is a Union County Commissioner who we have met, basically said that if there was, because they expect a runoff because there's so many candidates, and he said if he does not get 30%, that he is committed to not asking for a runoff, so that way the election doesn't go into November. Because what he is saying, and I don't think it's true, but what he is saying is that if there is the general election in November, the Democrats will have an advantage because so many local elections will be running for office. I understand that's what Stoney is saying, but I think it, and I know Stoney is a smart guy, that he doesn't understand, yes, but those Democratic candidates are not in District 9.
Correct.
And we have to educate people because a lot of people who are given this wonderful advice about the District 9 don't understand that the majority of Charlotte is not in District 9. They're out of Adams District.
But I think his larger purpose of saying we want to shorten the timeline to
Yes.
make sure people vote
That's really the
earlier
case.
rather than
That's
later
really the case,
is good on its face and good without any other rationalization.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because the people in Union County, which represent the majority of, or at least 1/4 of the vote, they're pretty heavy Republicans.
Yeah.
The South Charlotte people are pretty much Republican-leaning individuals.
Right.
The New Hope people in Fayetteville are more Republican-leaning individuals. So any candidates that are running local elections that are coming to the race, and this is what I've told people. The top of the ticket will be, if that happens, will be the Congressional 9 race. And the top of the ticket will dictate who really comes out to speak. Dan McCready's not running as a Democrat, so he's not going to inspire Democrats to come out to run. He's running as a Republican-light, country-over party kind of person. The Republicans are bringing their base out, so they're more likely to come out, and it can hurt down-ballot candidates if that's the case. So I understand what Stoney was saying. And I do appreciate what he said if he didn't get 30%. Now, whether the other candidates agree to that, that's up to them.
Yeah.
But they did have the debate. I thought it was very interesting because they all had answered very good questions. I don't know if y'all saw that.
Yeah, I didn't see it
Okay.
yet, but I will.
Yeah, and usually you're pretty on
Yeah.
top of everything, so I'm
Yeah,
very surprised.
and well, I was going to drive out to it, but I decided not
wouldn't
to,
let
and
you.
then I just didn't have a chance to watch it. But a question for Alan would be, you know, well, what about Union County? I mean,
Yeah.
we both know it's a Republican stronghold. We both know
Yeah.
it's very conservative. The demographics are changing a little bit.
Yep.
What's your pitch? What's your pitch to Union County?
So I think my pitch to Union County, I think one way that we differentiate ourselves in our campaign is just that we are out there representing people who work for a living. So
Yes.
we're not out there trying to talk about how we're going to get businesses into a county that are going to create jobs and things like
Yeah.
that. We're focusing on the people who actually do the work for those businesses and bringing power back to them and back to their communities. I think that's one thing that's really going to resonate with people, especially people in rural communities who are affected by tumultuous circumstances created by businesses and instability in the economy.
Right. So, you know, I got this question when I was out campaigning, and you know, they've got a lot of rural difficulties, rural economic development problems. How do you intend to tackle those concerns?
In 30 seconds.
In 4 seconds.
Because there's a question for you here that I need you to
Okay.
answer.
Right, sure. So there's a couple of different things that we can do. I think one thing that is a big part of our platform is this Green New Deal. And I know that there's something with the Democratic Party moving through Congress right now, talking about the Green New Deal. That's actually something the Green Party came up with that has been put into Congress. And now it's been watered down quite a bit. But if you look at what the Green Party's proposing, am I too long here? Sorry. It includes all sorts of provisions. So these are things for economic stability, including a federal jobs guarantee and a universal basic income for people. We're going to take money out of the military-industrial complex, and we're going to pump that back into our communities with green jobs that are stable for people that don't rely on corporations and the overall economy.
We have this saying in this household. It's called. It's a South Park episode. Anyone who's followed South Park, it's been on for 20 years. They have an episode where the Mexicans are coming over the border and taking the jobs, and one of these guys that reminds me like he probably lives in Monroe or something like that. Is going, they're taking our jobs. They're taking our jobs. Every time when people say creating those jobs, I keep thinking of a Dan Bishop follower or a Stoney follower. Not really a Matthew follower. Matthew follower is a little bit more educated. But of them saying, they're taking our jobs. And I always jokingly say, if your job is so crappy that a person came from Central America, almost 1,000 miles, waited at the border, came across, got his family, had to teach English, and then took your job when you've been here your entire life, had access to free education, access to skills, and they still took your job, then you deserve to lose that job. I just think we got to start calling, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs out.
Correct.
Okay, so NC9 elections, it's going on right now. So people aren't confused. There's 2 elections going on in North Carolina. NCO3, which was the bio that we read, and other people running.
Yeah.
That's in 2 weeks.
That's April 30th.
And then the NCO9 primary for the Republican Party is May
14th.
May 14th, and then if someone gets 30% or more, they will run in the general election
In
November.
September.
In September.
September, yeah.
If that person, and they will run against Dan McCready as the Democratic nominee,
Yeah.
you are the Libertarian nominee,
Yes.
and you are the Green Party nominee.
That's right.
So we actually have a show where we have
That's
2
right.
congressional nominees.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do that, WFA.
Yay! Hello.
Let's say Flashpoint. Again, 2 of those people.
Yeah.
And we got 2
And
here.
we got 2. And just to remind people, there are 4 parties. We have the Libertarian Party, who we've been educated a lot about, and I
Yes.
consider myself now to be a Democratic Libertarian because I agree with many medical cannabis, some of those kind of issues. We have the Green Party, which is the party that you belong to.
That's right.
Lily Taylor, I believe, is
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit?
Lily
Yes.
ran in a nonpartisan office, but she does affiliate with the Greens.
We have one person in
The
the
question.
audience that
Ex-
she said, please excuse her ignorance, but what is Green Party?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, Green Party is an independent third party in the U.S. We are a federation of parties, so we're not kind of governed at a high level. We're independently operated. We believe in creating a society that's based on grassroots democracy, social justice, ecological wisdom, environmentalism, all of these things that kind of interoperate in our economy and in our government. You can find out more about the Green Party at gp.us. That's the National Green Party. There's also state level Green Party. Their website is ncgreenparty.org.
Okay, Alan, I've got to ask a bless your heart question.
Sure.
And I'm
Oh,
going
yeah.
to put my head on. So,
Your brain's on.
So why should Democrats vote for the Green Party? They're just going to waste their vote. You can't win an election. I don't understand why Democrats are voting for Green. You need to vote Democrat. So why should we vote for Green Party or Libertarians? It's a wasted vote. You're just going to elect Donald Trump again, even though Donald Trump's not running.
Yeah.
But their
So
kids
can you
are.
explain that to me?
Yeah.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean,
I got to work on my voice.
So in my opinion, well, first let me just say that the Green Party we're not Democrats. Like, we're a completely separate party. So people who are members of the Green Party are not Democrats. So if you're a Democrat and you want to vote for a Democrat, do that. But just make sure that the Democratic candidate earns your vote. And you have to find that out by looking at the platform. Look at where these candidates stand on
Thank
issues.
you. Yes.
Come on, girl, that's
Woo!
how-
That's what we've been
So,
fighting for.
Yeah, nobody owns your vote. Don't let anybody tell you that they own your vote. You can vote for whoever you want to. That's the great thing about voting.
Yes.
But do your research. Look at the candidates. Look where we all stand on things, and vote for your heart. But vote your heart. Vote your conscience.
And come meet us live
Yes.
in person. Where
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why anyone who is a rational adult in our congressional district 9 or even outside of our district who does not believe having more than 2 candidates running for an office benefits democracy. Because when you have more than a Republican and the Democrat, then you can talk about issues like you've talked about. You can talk about issues. And
That's
what
right.
that does is that drives both those Democratic and Republican candidates to that message because they want to get the people who may vote for you because the elections are razor thin.
But
If Alan, sorry.
No, go ahead.
If Alan and I are not in this race,
Sure.
a lot of questions are not going to get
That's
asked.
true.
That's
That's true.
absolutely right.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Well, democracy is dying. You know,
So why would we not encourage it?
Yeah, exactly. We
Yeah.
gotta encourage it. We have
Yeah.
I like one of the things I had like about this conversation is you guys keep repeating education, education, education. We have a very lack of education
Yes.
about democracy and about being involved with the community. People keep forgetting that we work for our government. No, our government work for us.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely right.
Exactly.
and why people be afraid and be shy or don't want to be part of this decision that the government are taking for us? It's not by them for us. We always keep forgetting that it's not whatever we talk, whatever happens, it's not about us. It's about our kids and about our future.
That's
Yeah.
right. And it's
So
really
that's why we gotta take it seriously.
it's voters' responsibility to hold candidates' feet to the fire, to hold elections officials to their jobs.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
that's what structurally
Exactly.
it's all
And you
about.
just said the keyword to their job.
Yeah.
We are doing the interviews
Yes.
Right.
before
Exactly.
we
Yeah.
give them their job.
And we
That's
talked, Ruth, you're right. We've been talking.
Been learning.
No, we've been talking about this all along.
Yeah.
Running for office is a
job.
job someone's applying for.
Yeah.
There's an interview process that they go through just as we go through it as well. And we should hold them to at least the same standards that someone holds us to. So if you're going to run for congressional seat number 9, everyone knows where I'm going with this, you've got to show up for the interview.
Yes.
If you don't show up for the interview and answer the questions, then how do you, we're going to call you out.
Yes.
We're going to call you and leave a message on your voicemail and say, listen, you didn't show up for your interview. You either need to show up for the interview or we're not going to consider you for the job. And those people who are supporting that person shouldn't get their panties in a wad if we say we never see this person out on the campaign trail.
Right.
Because
Or never answer our questions.
Yeah, so
panties and underwear. I have to be careful. I don't want bless your hearts to call
Yes.
me and how you're
But now
misogynist.
we're in a social standard world
Yeah.
that panties, underwear,
You're
panties,
I wear panties.
I wear
I
boxers.
admit it here. That's right.
I wear underwear.
Come on, that's right. All right. On that note, we're going to go ahead and read the constitutional quote of the week because we're
way behind.
We are on constitutional quote number
15.
Yes. And
we have-
who is chosen to read that
we-
one? Please do.
you're
We
the
gave her.
you're the chosen reader.
That's right. You were the chosen reader.
Section 1. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Section 2. The Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation.
I hate
So this
that
was
one.
from 1870.
Yes, which was after
After the Civil War, yeah.
Okay.
But you know what's the sad part about is that it says it should, everyone has the right to vote. But nowadays, a lot of our folks that are under criminal
Yeah.
backgrounds are not allowed to vote.
Well, which state was suggesting? Was it Bernie Sanders who suggested that we allow felons, not felons, but felons in prison, to expand voting rights to inmates? I don't know if I've got a strong opinion on that.
I don't think I understand that, because why only just the ones in prison and not the ones that probably been felon for the past?
Well,
there's-
no. There are people that have committed felonies.
Mhm.
They've done their time,
And they
They
should
can
be.
vote.
They can vote.
They can vote.
in some
They
states,
can't.
right?
If they're
Not here.
expunged, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
not
something
here.
I'm not-
If it's
yeah,
still in
that's-
your
Yeah,
record, you can't.
There is a movement right now
Mhm.
with certain elected officials that are,
Yeah.
are from the national level. Cory Booker
That's
and
right.
Rand Paul are joining forces to try to federal law to pass
Should be our
that.
next
Is that right?
topic.
Is it-
I shouldn't have brought it
Let's
up because
start it
because
out,
I,
and that
I-
should be
I-
our next
because-
topic.
Because
That's good.
I didn't do the research on it. I
Yeah,
just
let's
know
do
that
some
it
research
was
on
just
that.
one of those
There are
hair on fire clickbait things
Your
that came
are
across.
what's the guy on the
I'm the mansplainer.
what's with the group of scientists, the show that's on that's its last season.
We spend so much time on
Sure,
politics.
we're
Oh.
busy in the community that we don't have time for TV.
Who's got time to
We
watch
don't have time for
recreational
TV.
television?
Can't you keep up with me, so how can you watch TV?
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory.
What's
Big Bang
the
Theory,
star you know what I'm talking about?
I
right?
know exactly. I can
Well, that's
see
who
him.
this is.
No.
We expect
Okay.
you to have all the answers.
Yes, we expect you to have all the answer
Me?
by our next
Okay.
topic.
And if
We'll be
anyone
talking
else
about
who got-
felonies, voting,
Yeah.
registration, so please.
That's right.
And
All right.
We Can Vote has all those answers. We Can Vote
That's
is an
right.
organization that we can look into before.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Good job. Thank you, Tara. I appreciate that. All right. The last segment, since we're going to be running a little over, just to warn everyone here. Stephen Miller's White House. Stephen Miller is cleaning the White House. The Department of Homeland Security Secretary was
Resign.
forced to resign over the weekend. I don't.
She
The
forced?
head of Secret Service.
He had a Secret
Did she?
Service.
Was she forced to
Yes,
resign?
Yeah.
that's the
She
understanding
was
that she was
well,
forced to
She
resign.
just went to a meeting
I haven't
and 30
done
minutes
my
later
research.
yeah.
And in the my understanding is because they were trying to get her to reinstate the separation of children, and she was pushing back against that because people already hated her in the beginning because she was, she's the face of the crazy Trump Stephen
Yeah.
Miller policy,
Right.
and when you
Christine
put
Nelson, right?
yes, and when
Yeah.
you put yourself in that situation, it's kind of hard to defend something that's
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
bad.
there's no
Yeah.
good outcome.
No.
For the
And
head of
I know the
agency.
talk shows all week long have been making fun of her. Now, what's she going to do? And she's going to be heckled at the Chili's and stuff like
Yeah.
that because she's the face of all of
I
that.
know,
Yeah.
but you got to be careful what you ask for because the person that's
Who
going
may
to take it
replace-
over
maybe worse.
maybe
Could be worse.
maybe a lot
Exactly.
worse.
Yes.
So there's so apparently they're cleaning house as Trump or
Well,
using
the head of I think I heard the head
ICE
of
may
ICE
take over.
is gonna take over.
Is going to run that
position.
policy, which
Yeah.
which already is a person who doesn't operate under very many.
Well, it's like,
Very little
it's
oversight
like what they
seems
were
like
saying
it.
in the news. Okay, or you are loyal to Trump or you are loyal to the Constitution.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's
Yes.
right. That's
Exactly.
right.
And
You
so,
wanna keep the job, you gotta be loyal to the president.
and I think that that is the case. Now, of course, the president has a right to have anybody he wants,
Appointment, yeah.
and we do have checks and balances in our government, which the House can investigate if there's anything
Right.
that they believe is not proper. The Senate has to confirm any
But
individuals.
then keep in mind, that's why we need some good Congress people.
Well,
Yes.
that's
Good,
right. That's, that's right. You need the Congress to exercise oversight
Yes.
over these administrative agencies
I'm-
that can get out of hand. We know that DHS and immigration
Yeah,
get out of hand. There are other agencies that also
Sure.
get out of hand.
and he can appoint anyone, but
That's
I mean,
right.
if Congress
It's gonna
doesn't do their job, that's
Yeah.
why everything is falling apart.
This is a question that I hope is asked during the
Mhm.
candidate forum in
Yeah.
the general election, and you don't have to answer this because it's unfair that
Yeah.
the Republican and Democratic candidate, it's not here, and I don't want them to have a 6-month advance notice on what you say this. But the question should be, because this is the big question, we have been without representation for almost a year, that's right, or however long it was.
Yeah.
If you are in that seat, will you caucus and will you go along with the Democratic Party to vote to start the impeachment process? That's a question that I hope is asked during that time, because the person who gets elected to represent our 9th Congressional District, which would represent South Charlotte, Queens University, all the way to Fayetteville, 8 counties. 50% of it is Union County and South Charlotte. The other 50% is the other 6 counties. That person is either going to vote with Alma Adams, who believes we should start the impeachment process, or they will vote against Alma Adams. And I think it's very important that Charlotteans understand that the person that we put in that position will either vote with Alma Adams, who represents the majority of Charlotte, or they will vote against Alma Adams. And I think that's an important question to ask, whether it's Dan McCready, whether it's y'all, or I know what the Republican candidate's going to say. I assume they're going to be a thorn like Pitcher was. But that is a question. But my argument is, we have to educate people. The impeachment process is a process. It's no different than you and I in a job that were absent 10 days and we started an employee review. It doesn't mean you're fired, it just means we start the investigation.
That's true, but it just depends on what the grounds are. You know, what are the grounds for impeachment? I mean, we've had a ridiculous 2-year, investigation of a Russian collusion, which has completely fallen flat.
I agree.
And a lot of people on the Democratic side have pinned a lot of their hopes on this, going forward and embarrassing the Republican Party.
Which was successful.
Which was successful.
It was the same thing that they did to Benghazi. Benghazi was a 2-year.
But it's collapsing from its own bizarre internal logic.
That's right.
But
that's just one reason to start the impeachment process, which is a process. Doesn't mean that he's guilty, just means it's a process. There's also, is he accepting money at his hotels illegally? Is he still profiting from being a president? Is all of the trips that he is taking only to his hotels that the taxpayers have to pay for all the rooms and everything? He is profiting from that. Is his there's a lot of other, Tom Seller, who's the need to impeach person, will be in South Carolina. What's on the other side? Rock Hill? Tom's will be in Rock Hill, South Carolina, this Friday.
Yeah,
and I'm going to the lunch
we
with him.
saw him when he was here, and
I know you're not.
I'm not a fan, and I think he's way off base. There's only one reason why I would support impeachment, and I'm guessing that Alan and I are probably kind of in sync on that, and that would be abuse of the War Powers Act.
So what you're saying,
because that would not only constrain Trump's, and the people around him, Pompeo and Bolton, but it would also constrain whoever came into power after him. That includes Mike Pence. We want to constrain whoever is in that office from willy-nilly bombing other countries.
But Jeff, and I'm glad that you didn't answer the question. I'm being sarcastic. The reason I'm saying that is because that would hold Trump to a different standard than we are held in the real world. If we were a dick in our jobs, we would be up for review like that. So why would we allow someone who obviously is being the way he is in his job and not at least investigate it? And so to me that would be, why would we allow the President of the United States to be held to a lower standard than we would hold someone who works at Walmart?
He does get reviewed every 4 years.
Oh, okay. So that's the argument would be, I don't believe
Congressmen get reviewed every 2 years.
Okay.
I'm in the middle of this conversation because, like I say, Okay, the impeachment process, it will take long, and we are just like two years away
Yeah,
from
2 years
Yeah.
away from the.
elections.
Right,
So
and
that's-
just the stridency of the parties. Well,
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll let Alan.
Yeah.
I'll let Alan talk.
Like a lot of it comes down to political strategy too. Like if you want to look at what you want your end result to be, and
Sure.
whether you're a Democrat or Republican, if we go into or Libertarian or
Yeah.
or Green Party, if you go into an impeachment battle, that's going to completely change the overall environment, different than it would be during an election, because you get the sides riled up and people start thinking about, I'm for Trump, I'm for Trump,
Sure.
and so it's going to mobilize voters
Sure.
during the 2020 election if the impeachment
Well, that's
process.
that's the argument of Nancy Pelosi.
Mhm.
Nancy Pelosi's argument is, I don't really want to start the impeachment process, even though the majority of her caucus wants to start it, because the majority of Democrats want that to occur. That her argument is, we're just going to give them fuel to rile up their base. My argument is, the Democratic Party always runs, and we talked about this earlier, we always follow with the message. Why can't we just be proud enough to be a Democrat and say, you know what? Let's start the impeachment process. Why can't we rile up our individuals as well? And if we find something, if we don't find anything, we don't find anything. But the same argument, if you look back, because I only watch CNN.
That's the
Not
problem.
If you
Not
That's the
Fox?
problem.
You don't watch Fox?
I just figured it out.
if you look back,
Yes, man. NPR.
I watch Telemundo.
Why is that about NPR is good, man?
if you look back at the Nixon impeachment process, the exact same arguments were used by Democrats and Republicans. We don't want to start the impeachment process because that's just going to give Nixon an opportunity to get reelected and so forth. And so they were blue dog Democrats were saying, no, we don't want to go the impeachment route, and they held it and held it. Once it got started is when they found the information. And it took a lot of political will for them to convince some Republicans to go along with starting it. So my argument is, if that is part of, if the Constitution allows that, that's part of the job of Congress, the House of Representatives. They have the right to start that process if they find information. They pass that information on to the Senate, and the Senate is the one that makes the judgment whether they're guilty or not. That's the jury. The investigation is just in the House, and the elections have consequences. We flipped the House of Representatives knowing that that was a possibility. And so what I'm saying is, let's start it. I would rather, anyway, that's my argument. But that may be a question that's going to be asked of y'all, so y'all have a couple of months to get your question to get me to vote for you.
We'll see.
That's not the only thing that
Let's
was
do a
concerning
whole
to
show
me.
on it.
Yeah.
We'll
We
do a
can't.
whole special coffee pen
Does anyone-
impeachment.
Speaking of peaches, peach season is coming up, in
Oh,
case anyone does not
Peach
know that.
season.
Yes, no, right around the Masters, which
Yeah.
starts, I
Yeah.
think started yesterday, the Masters. Anybody follow golf? The Masters in Augusta has started. The tournament starts on Thursday, but the pro-am, everything is all this week. Once that starts, technically peach season starts. South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia. Peaches, we're going to start finding those on sale at Harris Teeter,
On sale?
where I shop at. And you'll start having
I do Publix.
it's too expensive. Publix is expensive. They have good
You
chicken,
are
though.
you are a
They have
great
good fried
proponent
chicken.
Come on,
of
man.
agricultural
We gotta go to
industries.
Compare.
Yes, compare Publix.
Okay, if we're going to Latinos, I'm going to Wow.
I don't want to go to your side of town because ICE may pull me over. So I gotta,
Just make sure don't wear your hat.
Oh, you remember
I can't wear the.
everything about pan dulce and tamales is mine.
Well, that's why when I drive to you, I'm like this.
I might get pulled
I
over.
know I'm like my music.
I have to tell my mom, don't be scared if I call you from a jail.
Oh, don't say that.
No.
That would be. No, I mean Jorge said this the other day.
I've been wanting
I hope
to.
ICE pulls me over and asks me for identification.
And I'll be, no hablo inglés. No hablo inglés.
Yeah, so-
We'll start snapping. No,
You'll start speaking Spanish.
Hold on a second. Would you hold on a second? I gotta start my Facebook Live in a second. Now, go ahead. Ask me what you said. By that time I'm on the ground. And we know that you say you can't breathe. I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody want to end anything with the Stephen Miller, Trump, White House, they're firing people? Do y'all care about that, or is that important?
Dude, we're way over.
Yeah, we're way
Well, we're sort of being.
Hi, Addie.
The DHS thing is a big problem. Maybe the person that got kicked out was actually better than the person who's
That is
coming
coming
in.
in. Yep.
it could get scarier.
Yeah.
They are a proto-fascist organization.
They are fascists.
They are post-Patriot Act craziness.
Mm.
Almost everything they do is unsuitable for the American public. They're not protecting our rights or our liberties. So I would abolish most of their functions. I would vote to abolish most of their functions.
So to keep him in line.
I think Stephen Miller, man, is the worst enemy that we have in our
He you know, everyone thought Boehner, what was his name?
John Boehner.
John
Yeah,
Boehner,
yeah.
who there for a while, everyone thought he was evil. If you ever look at the pictures of Stephen Miller,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, it's like he's like a
He's
cuckoo
so-
for Cocoa Puffs. I mean, he's just crazy.
He's just quiet and thinking and thinking
Yeah.
and thinking.
I think
and
he's
then pushing.
well. I think he is a self-proclaimed white nationalist. I don't know that, so I have to say, no, that's assuming what he's not getting anything other than this computer. But I mean, I think he panders to the white nationalist, and
just read his biography. You know,
Yeah.
he was even kicked out from high school because his paperwork about discrimination.
I had this conversation with one of our neighbors that we go to their house once a week to eat about bullying, and bullying is a very, very big issue. I don't want to make light of bullying, but I just remember growing up when we didn't have the issue with bullying, and if you were a smart aleck kid, they beat you up. So that prevented you from being a smart aleck kid.
That's right.
I'm not suggesting that we should beat these little Stephen Millers up when they're in elementary school, because that's wrong. But I don't think that I think we should be able to debate and challenge individuals like that when they grow up, because if they don't hear opposite, I'm so fortunate to grow up with a big family and a lot of cousins, because if you got out of line, your cousins would put you back in line. They would say, hey, stop being an idiot, stop acting stupid. If you're an only child, and if you're an only child, I apologize for saying this, you don't tend to have that social
I'm the only
interaction
girl.
with. Well, I was
I'm the only girl.
so anyway, so Stephen Miller. Okay, so we're going to be ending here because we've gone over, and I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Yes, Wendell Potter, please tell us about this very important meeting that's
Okay,
occurring.
so Wendell Potter is. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I covering?
No, you're not.
Sure are.
So Wendell Potter worked for an insurance company, and he knows all the secrets in which the insurance companies are doing to avoid treating patients like myself. And they are intentionally killing Americans. He is going to tell all these secrets. He will be in town Friday, April 12th at Queen's University, and he will have different sections. There's 3 sections, one at 12, one at 3:30, and one at 6:30. We would love for you to come. Cano can post the information.
Yes, I'll do that
And
on the page.
Cano and I
also-
will be here.
Yes.
And I'm just going to tell you, like, the reason why I like Cano so much is because he is always attending these Medicare for All events. And when I see him out in the crowd, he always has his Medicare for All button. If you don't believe me, scroll down on my Facebook page and check it out.
And thank you. Now I have a big button. So
We
I
have
have
big
a- I have a-
buttons now.
yeah,
Big
so
buttons.
now I have one of those. No, I mean, I thank you, Tara, for what you do, and thank you for everything that Healthcare Justice does as well, because as people know who, the 2 people who follow me, when I ran in 2016, I announced in 2015, I was just pretty much about making stronger and protecting the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare. And I wasn't a big fan of the Medicare for All conversation, even though I was a Bernie bro. I endorsed Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton, which is why many people don't like me, because I thought Hillary was a terrible choice. I didn't believe in the Medicare for All, or I didn't support that and the free education part, which I'm still kind of not really a big fan of either, unless you include technical schools and things like that, people who don't want to go to college. But as I got educated, and as I attended y'all's meetings and got educated on the cost and if we spend the money on the front end, and even though my libertarian friend will not admit it, the libertarian the Cato Institute did research that actually proved Bernie Sanders' argument, even though they won't admit it, that it actually,
I won't admit
it saved us money in the long run. Plus, the business community, once they get educated on the that they will no longer have to provide that for their employees, and that is almost 1/3 of their expense, their burden for employees.
Yes.
And how there are companies that are moving out of this country because of the cost of health care for their employees, and why Canadian companies won't move to America. They're staying in Canada because they have that, and they're saving that 1/3 of the cost. There's a lot of financial reasons why. So whether you're looking at it from the moral perspective, whether you're looking at it from the fiscal perspective, which is really what I'm looking for, because we're already paying for these people who don't have health care in higher premiums and hidden taxes. We're paying for it already. Plus, when you look at it from the amount of money that insurance companies and big pharma are ripping us off, when you look at it from all those perspectives, to me it's a no-brainer. But as we understand, it is like religion. It is certain in America, there are certain things that people just don't want you to touch. It's their health care, their religion, and their guns. And those are things that the business community they're afraid to touch, because there's these myths that we have the best health care, and if we don't, it's not true.
I'm just buying leeches and drinking whiskey. That's all I can do.
All right, guys. I guess our next show will last from 10 to 11:30.
All right.
Beginning next week. See y'all.
We're gonna end the show, and I want to thank everyone. But everyone tell us where you're gonna be while the music is playing. Alexa, play Pandora.
I'll be at the Queen's University with our reading partners, arts and cultural, in pushing our kids to read.
Where will you be, Tara?
I'm going to the Wendell Potter. Catch me at the Wendell Potter.
I gotta work.
I'll be somewhere. Manolo will be at work at Manolo's Bakery on Central Avenue. Please go there. The best tres leche cake in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Great producers, especially the pigs. What are the pigs called?
Maranitos.
Oh, I
Maranitos.
love the pigs. All right. Alan.
I'm going to be out in the community, meeting people, finding out what's weighing on people's hearts and minds and stuff. So just look out, because I may be at your door next.
This is his formal invitation. This is in his district.
I'm going to go to Manolo's and get some of the tres leche. That sounds great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Now, you're going to have to do the typical talk to us until I can do, all right? So thank you for joining us, and I do hope that the mayor reconsiders the committees.
100%.
I do believe that climate change is so important that it deserves its own committee, and I do believe that we shouldn't experiment with these committees. This is something that it should have its own committee that is that important. So this is something I wanted to hold up.
Yeah, we want to save.
As we do that.
I support that as well.
Yeah, let's save our environment. It's very important for us for the people to be conscious about what we're doing in our environment. And I hope to see y'all next week. Please, Mr. Jeff, do some researches.
I will
Bring us some felons who's allowed to
sure
vote.
that I am informed so I can inform all
Yes,
of you
that's our teacher.
about the important facts that we need to know to make smart decisions.
All right, see y'all. Bye. Woo, thank you.